You spent money today that you don't even remember spending. A coffee here, a lunch there, a subscription you forgot you signed up for 3 months ago still quietly draining your account every single month. And the scary part is not that you spent it. The scary part is that you felt totally fine about it. Because that's what we've been trained to do. Spend first, save whatever's left. And whatever's left is usually nothing. Here's the truth that nobody at your bank is going to sit you down and explain. The way most people save money is completely backwards, and it's costing them not hundreds, not thousands, but potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their lifetime. Tonight, I'm going to show you the exact savings account structure that quietly wealthy people use, why banks despise it when their customers actually understand it, and how you can set it up in the next 20 minutes without moving to a different bank or doing anything complicated. Let's start with the problem. The average American spends about $3,500 a month on what most financial advisors would call discretionary expenses. That's dining out, entertainment, subscriptions, impulse purchases, the random stuff that just kind of happens. Now, $3,500 sounds like a lot until you actually start tracking your own spending and realize you're probably not that far off. The average American also has less than $1,000 in liquid savings. So we have people spending $3,500 a month on things they barely remember and less than $1,000 to show for all of their earning years. That gap is the problem, and it's not an income problem, it's a system problem. Here's how most people's financial life actually works. Money comes in, bills get paid, lifestyle gets funded. Whatever's left over, if anything, goes into savings. Financial planners have a name for this. They call it pay yourself last, and it is the single biggest reason why people who make good money still feel broke. Now, here's what the other side does, and I don't mean the ultra-rich with family offices and private wealth managers. I mean the quietly wealthy. The teacher who retired at 55 with $2 million, the postal worker with a paid-off house and a brokerage account, the nurse who never made more than $70,000 a year but somehow has $900,000 saved by her early 60s. These people don't have secret income sources. They have a different system, and the core of that system is something called the waterfall method, combined with a savings account structure that most banks don't advertise because it works against their interests. Let me explain how money moves at a regular bank versus how it should move. When you deposit your paycheck into a regular checking account, that money sits there, available, tempting, and earning you essentially nothing. Most big bank savings accounts are paying somewhere between 0.01% and 0.5% interest right now. On $10,000, that's between $1 and $50 per year, barely enough to buy a cup of that coffee you keep spending money on. Meanwhile, that same bank is taking your deposits and lending them out at 7%, 9%, 22% on credit cards. They are profiting enormously from your money while paying you almost nothing to keep it there. Now, high-yield savings accounts at online banks have been paying between 4.5 and 5.25% for the past couple of years. That's not a glitch. That's not too good to be true. That's just what happens when a bank doesn't have hundreds of physical branches to maintain and thousands of tellers to pay. They pass some of those savings on to you in the form of better interest rates. On that same $10,000, at 5%, you're earning $500 per year just for having your money exist there. That's the difference between $1 and $500. Same money, different account, different bank. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that most people miss even when they know about high-yield savings accounts. It's not just about the rate, it's about the structure. Because one savings account is not enough. The people who actually build wealth through this system use what I'd call the triple bucket approach, and it works like this. You have 3 separate savings accounts, each with a specific job. The first is your emergency buffer, 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses, sitting somewhere you can access it within a day or two if everything falls apart. This account has one job. It is not for vacations, it is not for a new phone, it is for the moment your transmission dies, your appendix bursts, or your company has layoffs. For most people, this means somewhere between $12,000 and $25,000 sitting in a high-yield account, earning around 5%. Once it's funded, you essentially forget it exists. The second account is your freedom fund. This is where it gets powerful. This account has a target. Maybe it's 6 months of your bare bones expenses. Maybe it's a year. But this account represents the point at which you have actual leverage in your life. The ability to quit a job that's killing you without panicking. The ability to negotiate a raise because you're not desperate one missed paycheck away from disaster. This account changes how you move through the world. The third account is your sinking fund. This is for the planned big expenses that people pretend are surprises but never actually are. Car repairs, home maintenance, annual insurance premiums, holiday spending, a vacation you actually save for in advance. You know these things are coming, you just don't plan for them. And then when they arrive, they feel like emergencies and they blow up your budget and sometimes land on a credit card at 22% interest. The sinking fund ends that cycle completely. Now, here's the math that should genuinely bother you. Let's say you're 30 years old and you have $5,000 sitting in a traditional savings account at 0.5% interest. Over the next 35 years, with no additional contributions, that $5,000 grows to $5,938. You made less than $1,000 in 35 years. Take that same $5,000, move it to a high-yield account at 5%, and without touching it, without adding a single dollar, it becomes $27,680 by the time you're 65. That's $21,742 of pure profit on the exact same money with zero additional effort. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different financial life. And that's before we talk about what happens when you actually contribute to it consistently. If you put just $300 a month into a high-yield savings account earning 5%, starting at age 30, by age 65 you have just over $322,000. $126,000 of that is money you actually deposited. The remaining $196,000 is compound interest doing its job quietly in the background while you lived your life. That's nearly $200,000 that required no extra hours at work, no side hustle, no risky investment, just a better account and a consistent habit. Now, $300 a month might sound like a lot, but let's revisit those discretionary expenses from earlier. Most people, when they actually track their spending for 30 days, find $200 to $400 in expenses they don't consciously remember choosing. The streaming service they don't watch, the gym membership from 2 years ago, the subscription box they keep meaning to cancel, the daily lunch that could easily be half the price. This is not about deprivation. This is about making your money reflect your actual priorities instead of your impulses. Here's how you actually implement this right now. Step 1. Open a high-yield savings account. There are several well-known online banks offering rates that are dramatically higher than traditional banks. Look at what's currently available, compare rates, check their FDIC insured, and open an account. Most of them can be set up in under 15 minutes with just your social security number and bank account information. Step 2. Automate your savings before you can spend it. The single most important word in financial planning is automatic. Set up a direct deposit split or an automatic transfer on the same day your paycheck lands. Not the day after, not when you remember, the same day. Before you can see it, before your brain decides it's available for other things. The amount almost doesn't matter at first. What matters is the habit and the system. Step 3. Label your accounts. This sounds almost too simple, but behavioral research consistently shows that people save more money when their savings have a name. Instead of Savings Account 2, it's called Emergency Fund. Instead of Savings Account 3, it's Freedom Account. Names create psychological barriers to spending. You will think twice before raiding something called your Freedom Account to buy something you'll forget about in a week. Step 4. Increase your contribution by 1% every 6 months. This is the stealth wealth strategy. You barely notice a 1% increase, but over 3 to 5 years, you've moved from saving 5% of your income to 10%, 12, 15%, and your lifestyle hasn't suffered because the increases were gradual enough that your spending just quietly adjusted. Here's what I want to leave you with. The reason banks don't tell you about high-yield savings accounts unless you specifically ask is not because they're evil, it's because they're businesses, and your financial comfort is not their priority. Your financial growth actively costs them money. Every dollar you move from a 0.5% account to a 5% account is a dollar they're no longer profiting from. That's not a conspiracy, that's just capitalism working exactly as designed. The people who build real financial security are not people who make more money than you. Most of them aren't. They're people who designed a system where their money works harder than their spending habits, where saving is the default, not the afterthought, where they made one set of good decisions, automated them, and then let time do the heavy lifting. You already know what it feels like to spend money without thinking. You've been doing it your entire life. The question is whether you're willing to try the other thing. Save without thinking. Automate it. Name it. Let compound interest turn your ordinary income into something extraordinary. The money is there. The system is simple. The only thing standing between where you are now and where you want to be is whether you decide that your future self deserves the same urgency that your present impulses always seem to get. Go open the account tonight, not tomorrow.